Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca and welcome back to this week's episode of TJLC Explained, where I'll be talking about The Blind Banker in depth. If you're not super enthusiastic for this one, I can't say that I blame you. For a long time, I thought this episode was terrible. The structure seemed awkward, everyone seemed to be acting out of character, the case wasn't particularly interesting, and in the end, nothing happens other than to get John and Sherlock back to the point where they end off a study in pink. I was wrong though. And if you'll stick with me, I'll explain how this episode actually serves to further the romantic arc, and how subtextually it foreshadows a lot of what is going to happen in future series. I still haven't gone too in depth into what mirroring is, and since I'm going to be referencing it heavily throughout this episode, I feel like I should explain what I'm talking about. Mirroring is a literary device where the actions and characteristics of a side character intentionally parallel those of a main character in order to reveal something about them. This is sort of similar to a foil, where a side character exists to highlight the differences between them and the main character. Both mirrors and foils are used all the time on Sherlock. Almost every side character parallels either Sherlock or John. I'm planning a video covering this more in depth in the future, but knowing that Sue Lin is a mirror for Sherlock is crucial to understanding this episode. She'll say and do things that Sherlock can't, and reveal what he's actually feeling. The episode actually opens by introducing Sue Lin. This is a weird choice if you don't know that Sue Lin is a mirror for Sherlock. If you do, this first scene lays the groundwork for setting up Sherlock's emotional state in this episode. This episode actually opens on a close-up of the teapots. In my last video, I actually went in depth explaining how tea symbolizes gay love on Sherlock, and if you know that, opening with the teapots is another subtle clue for the focus of the episode. We can actually look at the teapots to represent the Sherlock Holmes stories and their adaptations.
The great artisans say, the more the teapot is used, the more beautiful it becomes.
The original stories have only benefited from being retold so many times. The pot is seasoned by repeatedly pouring tea over the surface, which leaves a beautiful shine. And this process of making tea to shine the pots has been happening for centuries. Sue Lin is approached by a young man asking her out. Even though she's a bit reserved, it's clear she returns his interest.
Some things aren't supposed to sit behind glass. They're made to be touched, to be handled.
Sue Lin mentions that the teapots are in desperate need of attention because not enough tea has been made in them.
These pots need attention. The clay is cracking.
Well, I can't see how a tiny splash of tea's gonna help.
Sometimes you have to look hard at something to see its value.
This exchange here mirrors the conversation at Angelo's, and here we can see Sherlock's feelings more clearly than we could there. He was interested in John, but was afraid of being hurt.
I don't suppose that you want to have a drink? Not tea, obviously. In a pub with me tonight.
You wouldn't like me all that much.
Couldn't I maybe decide that for myself?
Andy is a bit more forward than John was, but he doesn't have to deal with internalized homophobia. Even though Sue Lin is interested in Andy, she turns him down because she's worried that a relationship would be dangerous to both of them.
I can't. I'm sorry. Please stop asking.
She shuts away the teapots as she's doing this. This bit foreshadows Sherlock's feelings in season 2, but more on that later. What matters now is that Sue Lin is definitely giving off signs that she's interested, and when Andy proceeds to ask her out, Sue Lin would readily go out with him if she weren't in danger. At this point, Sherlock isn't in danger, so we can assume that if John were to ever ask him out again, Sherlock would readily take him up on his offer, and that he's been trying to make that happen. This reading makes their first exchanges make much more sense. At the start of the episode, John is out buying groceries while Sherlock is taking care of an exciting case.
Item not scanned. Please try again.
You can keep your voice down.
You could easily be forgiven for taking this as a sign that the instant connection that John and Sherlock shared in the first episode has been lost here due to poor writing. But that isn't the case. Sherlock knows John is bored by civilian routine, and that he would instantly jump at the opportunity to be part of an exciting case. He said so himself with the "I said dangerous and here you are" exchange. And he's used that to his advantage to lure John back onto the case more than once. So if he isn't including John, it's a deliberate choice. And why would he be doing that? What reason could he possibly have for cutting John off of the adrenaline he so desperately craves, while being increasingly warm, making sure he looks particularly nice, and hanging around the flat all the time? He's obviously winding John up, hoping that eventually the pressure will cause John to act out on the feelings he showed at Angelo's. Don't want to take my word for it? Let's look at what happens when John gets back to Baker Street.
You took your time.
Yeah, I didn't get the shopping.
What? Why not?
Because I had a row in the shop with a chip and pin machine.
Somebody's frustrated. Let's see how Sherlock reacts to his attitude. Normally, someone would be put off by this grumpy behavior, right?
You had a row with a machine.
Sort of. It sat there and I shouted abuse. Have you got cash?
Take my card.
See what I'm talking about yet? If that wasn't enough, ask yourself why Sherlock would smile to himself at getting John so worked up. Come on. Also, Sherlock's deliberately turning down exciting cases. He has something much more interesting to focus on. He's distracted from Operation Get John Watson as frustrated as possible when an old friend messages him.
Don't worry about me, I can manage.
We know that Sherlock has been hurt by Sebastian and other people at school, so confronting him again is probably a scary thing. He most likely takes the case to prove to Sebastian that he's capable of making friends. That makes what's about to happen a lot worse. To be entirely fair though, let's look at this from another angle. John has no idea what Sherlock's been up to. As far as he's concerned, he had his try when he first met Sherlock, and Sherlock made it pretty clear that he wasn't interested in a relationship. Sure, Sherlock's been flirty since then, but he made his stance clear, right? Combine his confusion there with the fact that Sherlock has cut him off from the cases and has been going through his stuff.
Is that my computer?
Of course.
What?
Mine was in the bedroom.
What, you couldn't be bothered to get up? It's password protected.
In a manner of speaking, took me less than a minute to guess yours. Not exactly Fort Knox.
Right, thank you.
Where there might very well be gay porn saved, which he definitely would not want Sherlock to see, and he's not in a great mood. He's either trying to distance himself from his feelings for Sherlock, trying to earn Sebastian's respect by appearing professional, or trying to insinuate himself back into the work Sherlock so highly values when he says this.
This is my friend, John Watson.
Friend.
Colleague.
Whatever the specific motivation, it's the worst thing he could have possibly said. You can tell John isn't actually angry with Sherlock by his tone when he talks about Sherlock's gift.
It's not a trick.
He could look at you and tell you your whole life story.
Yes, I've seen him do it.
He's still respectful about it, not derisive like Sebastian. Sebastian starts going on about how much he and everyone else hated Sherlock.
Put the wind up, everybody. We hated him. We'd come down to breakfast in the formal hall, and this freak would know you'd been shagging the previous night.
I simply observed.
Go on, enlighten me. 2 trips a month, flying all the way around the world? Quite right. How could you tell? You gonna tell me there was a stain on my tie from some special kind of ketchup you can only buy in Manhattan?
No,
Maybe it was the mud on my shoes.
John is amused by it, but he genuinely still doesn't know how Sherlock's gift works and hasn't picked up on the fact that something is wrong. And considering the laptop exchange earlier, he might be sympathetic to someone not wanting Sherlock to know about their sex life. It isn't until Sherlock passes up the opportunity to explain what he knows that John notices that something is wrong.
I was just chatting with your secretary outside. She told me.
Even though Sebastian is extremely mean to Sherlock and his abilities, he has no qualms taking advantage of them. He explains how someone broke into the offices and left graffiti. Sherlock declines Sebastian's offer of payment to show him up.
Find it and we'll pay you. 5 figures. And this is an advance. Tell me how you got in. There's a bigger one on its way.
I don't need an incentive, Sebastian.
John doesn't know this, and thinking that Sherlock is ignoring their money problems, takes the check.
He's kidding you, obviously. Shall I look after that for him? Thanks.
Setting up the mistake that will happen later on. This next bit isn't symbolically relevant, but has anyone who thinks Sherlock is suave and cool ever even seen this scene? He is a nerd. Anyway, he eventually figures out that the message was left for Edward Van Coon, and he and John leave the building. John asks how Sherlock really knew about Sebastian, and Sherlock is pleased.
2 trips around the world this month. You didn't ask his secretary. You said that just to irritate him. How did you know?
He explains it to John because he knows John is more accepting of his gift, even if he was hurt by the colleague's comment.
Did you see his watch?
His watch?
Time is right, but the date was wrong. It said 2 days ago. Crossed the date line twice, but he didn't alter it.
Within a month. How'd you get that part?
New Brightening. It'll come out this February.
Okay.
They head to Van Coon's apartment, and Sherlock gets in through the balcony. He leaves John waiting outside, wanting to prove to himself that he doesn't need John in order to do his work. John, though, sees it as more of the same.
Yeah, anytime you feel like letting me in.
Sherlock finds Van Coon lying dead and calls the police. John is miffed about being left outside and doesn't cooperate well with Sherlock.
Look at the case. There was something tightly packed inside it.
Thanks, I'll take your word for it.
Problem?
Yeah, I'm not desperate to root around some bloke's dirty underwear.
They aren't on the same page here at all. Sherlock keeps walking him through the case, though, and eventually explains that it was a murder.
We're obviously looking at a suicide.
It does seem the only explanation of all the facts.
Wrong. It's one possible explanation of some of the facts. You've got a solution that you like, but you're choosing to ignore anything you see that doesn't comply with it.
Like?
The wound's on the right side of his head.
And?
Bancoon was left-handed. Requires quite a bit of contortion.
Quick note, why would John be so willing to instantly accept that a left-handed risk-taker down on his luck would be willing to commit suicide? Do you see what I'm saying about mirroring being a common theme? They go find Sebastian, and Sherlock explains to him that Bancoon was murdered. Sebastian gets a text from one of his bosses saying it was suicide, though, and completely ignores everything Sherlock is saying.
It's my chairman. Police have been on to him. Apparently they're telling him it was a suicide.
Well, they've got it wrong, Sebastian. He was murdered.
Well, I'm afraid they don't see it like that.
Sir.
And neither does my boss. I hired you to do a job. Don't get sidetracked.
At least John is back on Sherlock's side here.
I thought bankers were all supposed to be heartless bastards.
After introducing the next murder victim, the story cuts back to the museum, where Su Lin has vanished. There's a lot of foreshadowing for the Reichenbach fall and beyond in the rest of this storyline.
Su Lin should go. She's the expert.
Su Lin has resigned her job. I need you.
That shot of him staring at the empty stool should look familiar. Andy goes to Su Lin's house to leave a note for her, trying to reconcile after what happened. Don't worry, it gets even worse later. We cut back to John, who has decided to go job hunting.
Just locum work.
No, that's fine.
This choice isn't financially driven. John already secured them a 5-figure payment on the case they're working on. Instead, John has decided that he needs some distance from Sherlock. Like Sherlock, John's trying to prove to himself that he doesn't need him. That's why he's saying things like,
Might be a bit mundane for you.
No, mundane is good sometimes. Mundane works.
we all know that's not true, especially John. Many people have brought up how John's twin professions parallel his bisexuality. He's a doctor, attracted to women, and a soldier, attracted to men. Sarah brings this up in the interview as a reason John wouldn't be interested in the position. Or her.
It says here you're a soldier.
And a doctor.
Again, it's made clear that this really isn't about the money when John goes home and this exchange happens.
I went to see about a job at that surgery.
How was it?
Great. She's great.
Who?
The job.
She?
It.
John's attempt to replace Sherlock with an ordinary job and a normal woman isn't going to go well. Sherlock tells John that the killer is struck again, and they convince Dimmock to let them into the victim's apartment. Sherlock figures out that the killer got in by climbing, and they go to the library to chase the next lead.
To find out what connects these two men.
They find the same symbol painted on one of the shelves there as was placed in the office.
Sherlock.
They work out the order of events and figure out where they need to go next.
Why did they die, Sherlock?
Only the cipher can tell us.
The only way for the two of them to figure things out is to decipher the code. Sherlock explicitly tells John that their lives are filled with codes.
Cryptography inhabits our every waking moment.
Yes, okay, but...
Sherlock explains why they're there.
Where are we headed?
I need to ask some advice.
What? Sorry?
You heard me perfectly. I'm not saying it again.
You need advice?
On painting, yes. I need to talk to an expert.
John, who thinks Sherlock has been trying to get rid of him so he can work alone, points out Sherlock's admission that he does need help. Sherlock, on the other hand, sees this as John making fun of him for not being smart enough. The events of the episode have been slowly driving them apart, and it just keeps getting worse. They talk to the graffiti artist, and when the police show up, Raz and Sherlock instinctively run away, leaving John to deal with the consequences.
Oi! What the hell do you think you're doing? This gallery is a listed public building.
No, wait. It's not me who painted that. I was just holding this for
It's really not going well. Back at the museum, we see Andy trying to make sense of why Sulin would leave everything she cared about so suddenly.
She was right in the middle of an important piece of restoration. Why would she suddenly resign?
Family problems. She said so in her letter.
Hey, would you look at that?
John. So, how does it work then, your relationship? You go out for a coffee now and then, hey? You and Jim, your own brother, and you blabbed about his entire life to this maniac.
I never dreamt.
This is what you were trying to tell me, isn't it? Watch his back, because I've made a mistake.
They've clearly been planning this for a long time.
Look, those teapots, those ceramics, they've become her obsession. She's been working on restoring them for weeks. I can't believe that she would just abandon them.
Perhaps she was getting a bit of unwanted attention.
How often do you think John told himself something similar after Sherlock jumped? John gets back from the police station and starts yelling at Sherlock about leaving him.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. Custody sergeants don't really like to be hurried, do they? Just formalities. Fingerprints, charge sheet, and I've got to be in magistrate's court on Tuesday.
What?
Me, Sherlock, in court on Tuesday. They're giving me an ASBO.
Good, fine.
You want to tell your little pal he's welcome to go and own up anytime?
Sherlock being buried in his work doesn't help the situation, but he's paying enough attention to stop John from sitting down.
No, I need you to go to the police station, ask about the journalist. His personal effects will have been impounded. Get hold of his diary or something that would tell us his movements.
This is one of the few times they casually touch on the show, and just that contact is enough to get John back on board with the case, despite his frustration.
You'll see Van Koon's PA. If you retrace their steps, somewhere they'll coincide.
He's getting tired of Sherlock's hot and cold routine, though, so he's resigned when Dimmock starts to badmouth Sherlock.
Your friend?
Listen, whatever you say, I'm behind you 100%.
He's an arrogant sod.
Well, that was mild. People say a lot worse than that.
He's sad that people are mean to Sherlock, but at this point he can't really deny the possibility that they might be right. Still, even at their worst, the universe is pulling them together.
So you brought your lunch from here en route to the station, but where were you headed from? Where did the taxi drop you?
Right.
I hate them. I hate them. Literal meet cute. John actually manages to get through to Sherlock when he starts being pushy, because like you'll remember from the beginning of the episode, that's actually what Sherlock wants.
Eddie Van Koon brought a package here the day he died. Whatever was hidden inside that case, I've managed to piece together a picture using scraps of information.
Sherlock.
Credit card bills, receipts. He flew back from China, then he came here.
Sherlock.
Somewhere in this street, somewhere near, I don't know where, but
That shop over there.
how could you tell?
Lucas's diary. He was here too. He wrote down the address.
When John does this, Sherlock instantly stops monologuing and follows John's lead. It's too bad John isn't confident enough yet in their relationship to act like this all the time, or they'd resolve their issues a lot more quickly. When John finds the cipher in the store, it's starting to look like they might finally be back in sync.
It's a 15. What we thought was the artist tag. It's a number 15.
And the blindfold, the horizontal line, that was a number as well. Chinese number 1, John.
We found it.
It's at this point that they finally eat another meal together, again showing that for the minute, their relationship is back on course.
Thank you.
Think about what Sebastian told us about Van Koon, about how he stayed afloat in the market.
Lost 5 million.
Made it back in a week. That's how he made such easy money.
He was a smuggler.
It doesn't last too long, though. Sherlock notices that Sulin's apartment has been left empty and heads over that way.
Remind me, when was the last time that it rained?
He sneaks in through the back window, probably expecting John to follow him, but instead John runs to the front door.
Sherlock!
Sherlock isn't overtly ignoring John like earlier, though. He's still speaking to him the entire time.
Someone else has been here. Somebody else broke into the flat and knocked over the vase, just like I did.
John doesn't hear him, though, and starts yelling through the mail slot.
I'm not the first.
What?
Somebody's been in here before me.
What are you saying?
That's essentially what's been happening throughout. John thinks trying to reach Sherlock is a lost cause.
I'm wasting my breath.
The situation worsens when Sherlock is attacked by the killer. His first instinct is to call out for John. John still can't hear him, though, and starts going on a sarcastic rant about how useless he feels.
No, I'm Sherlock Holmes, and I always work alone because no one else can compete with my massive intellect.
He only thinks that because he has no idea what Sherlock is going through behind closed doors. Again, this is a small version of what plays out throughout the entire series, especially here.
Anytime you want to include me.
John! He's trying, John! John's sarcasm does save Sherlock, though, because the killers were after Sherlock, and now they think that's John. Like usual, Sherlock hides his pain from John, even though, like with John resisting being pushy, this is the last thing Sherlock should be doing.
The milk's gone off and the washing started to smell. Somebody left here in a hurry 3 days ago.
Somebody?
Su Lin Yao. We have to find her.
John is looking for the smallest evidence of Sherlock's vulnerable side.
You've gone all croaky. You're getting a cold.
Fine.
Sherlock, let John be soft with you, please. Here, the main story finally intersects with the museum plotline. Sherlock takes note of the teapots while they're there, and they find the threat that made Su Lin disappear.
When was the last time that you saw her?
3 days ago. I'm here at the museum.
On their way out, they bump into Raz, who takes them to the paint he's found.
Tuesday morning, all you've got to do is turn up and say the bag was yours.
Forget about your court date.
Even in these early days, they aren't free from being observed by malicious eyes. They go to look for more traces of the paint. Was that really necessary? John is actually the one who finds the message and tries to get a hold of Sherlock.
Answer your phone, I've been calling you.
Yeah, John, we know. He leads Sherlock back to the message, which has now disappeared. They both can't look at the same time, after all.
I don't understand. It was here. 10 minutes ago, I saw it. A whole lot of graffiti.
Somebody doesn't want me to see it.
Sherlock tries to get John to concentrate, but this really isn't how you grab your friends.
Hey, Sherlock, what are you John, concentrate. I need you to concentrate. Close your eyes.
No, what? Why?
John is so transfixed by the contact and Sherlock staring at him that he completely forgets that he took a picture of the message.
Why? What are you doing?
I need you to maximize your visual memory. Try to picture what you saw. Can you picture it?
Yeah.
Can you remember it?
Yes, definitely.
Can you remember the pattern?
Yes.
How much can you remember it?
Look, don't worry.
It isn't until Sherlock starts insulting his intelligence that he finally snaps out of it.
Because the average human memory on visual matters is only 62% accurate.
Yeah, well, don't worry. I remember all of it.
Really?
Yeah, well, at least I would if I can get to my pockets. Took a photograph.
John's getting worn out by this point, but still readily follows Sherlock back to the museum.
We can't crack this without Su Lin Yao.
Oh, good.
When they talk to Andy, Sherlock's attention instantly goes to the teapots. Of course.
You're looking at.
Tell me more about those teapots.
The pots were her obsession. They need urgent work. If they dry out, then the clay can start to crumble. Apparently, you have to just keep making tea in them.
Going back to the teapots as the original stories, it's not just that making tea in them makes them more beautiful, but that without tea, they would crumble. Sherlock realizes from the fact that another one is shining that Su Lin has been sneaking back in to work on them. They wait for her to show up. When Sherlock surprises her, Su Lin almost drops the pot, nearly shattering centuries of work. Sherlock saves it, though.
Fancy a biscuit with that? It's centuries old. Don't want to break that. Hello.
Su Lin's backstory is laden with foreshadowing. For example, the person coming after her.
Jiju.
Jiju. The spider. James Moriarty isn't a man at all. He's a spider.
Sherlock clearly empathizes with Su Lin and openly shows concern for her while she's speaking. Like Su Lin, Sherlock was involved with drugs at a young age, although he was using rather than smuggling. There's an intentional cut to John when Su Lin talks about putting all that behind her, showing that Sherlock started a new phase when John entered his life.
I managed to leave that life behind me. I came to England. They gave me a job here. Everything was good. New life.
We came looking for you.
It was a new life, until the spider came looking.
A small community like ours, they're never very far away. You came to my flat.
It's an apple pie. Glorious Mrs. Hudson. Hello. Come on, look at the wall. So here we are, Sherlock Holmes HQ.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Some of you will have heard of M theory, the theory that Mycroft has been working for Moriarty against his will. This scene would seem to confirm that theory.
So you knew him well when you were living back in China?
Oh, yes. He's my brother.
Neither Mycroft or Moriarty are the ones really in charge, though.
My brother has become their puppet. In the power of the one they call Sham. Black Lotus General.
The female leader behind the entire operation. Mary! Sulin betrays Jiju by not being like him, and that immediately puts her in danger. This works for either Moriarty or Mycroft. Like, seriously, all of the careful planning that has clearly gone into this blows my mind. Sulin starts to explain the code to Sherlock when Jiju shows up.
It's a Chinese number 1.
And this one is 15. But what's the code?
All the smugglers know it. It's based upon a book.
He's here. Jiju. He has found me.
Sherlock runs off, and after a minute of guarding Sulin, John runs after him.
I have to go and help him. Bolt the door after me.
This ends up costing Sulin her life. She dies because John abandons her. It's good for the rest of us that he'll never do the same to Sherlock. We now know what's at risk if he did. Sherlock and John spend the rest of the night trying to figure out what book might contain the clue. A popular book, one that anyone would own. Just a suggestion. The only other notable thing here is Sherlock's fake flirting with Molly.
Could you wheel them out again for me?
Well, the paperwork's already gone through.
Changed your hair.
What?
It's the style, usually parted in the middle.
Yes, well...
No, it's good. It suits you better this way.
He's only kind to her while she's looking. With John, he's most open when he's looking away. They stay up all night working, and John has officially spent all of his energy on Sherlock. He has nothing left to give to his mundane job or the woman working there and falls asleep on duty.
John? John?
When he eventually wakes up, Sarah rightly assumes that he's tired because of romantic interest.
So, what were you doing? Keep you up so late?
I was attending a sort of book event.
Oh. Oh, she likes books, does she, your girlfriend?
John doesn't say he's not interested in Sherlock, but rather...
No, it wasn't a date.
His pining is getting obvious even to strangers now, though, so John decides to fully commit to moving on from Sherlock and asks her out.
Good. I mean,
And I don't have one tonight.
Sherlock, on the other hand, is growing tired of the case and wants a break. He asks John to go out and get some air with him.
I need to get some air. We're going out tonight.
Actually, I've got a date.
Sherlock finally decides to be blatant about the fact that he's changed his mind about a relationship, only it's at the worst possible time.
What?
To where two people who like each other go out and have fun?
That's what I was suggesting.
No, it wasn't. At least I hope not.
John's sure that Sherlock was probably just talking about more casework, and that Sherlock probably doesn't even know what a relationship looks like. Even if Sherlock was being serious, which he definitely wasn't, now is the worst possible time for him to bring up the possibility of a relationship, now that John is finally moving on. I really wish John had taken a moment to think about it, though. This would all be over if he had. Sherlock starts thinking he's misread John's interest, and pivots to asking where John is going.
Where are you taking her?
Cinema.
Dull, boring, predictable.
He smugly dismisses John's choice of dating locations. He already knows how John does with routine. He offers John tickets to the circus, which will definitely be more interesting because everyone working there is secretly a smuggler.
Why don't you try this? In London for one night only.
John initially dismisses the offer.
Thanks, but I don't come to you for dating advice.
But he ends up going there anyway.
It's years since anyone took me to the circus.
Right, yes. Well, it's a friend recommended it to me and phoned up.
Like, John, this is not the way to be moving on. He even makes a reservation under Sherlock's name.
Hi, I have 2 tickets reserved for tonight. And what's the name? Holmes.
Like, you have to try harder than this. That isn't even the worst of it. Sherlock actually shows up to Third Wheel so intensely that it starts to look like Sarah is the one who was uninvited.
Actually, I have 3 in that name. No, I don't think so. We only booked 2.
And then I phoned back and got one for myself as well. I'm Sherlock.
Hi.
Hello.
John is clearly annoyed when Sherlock shows up.
You can let me have just 1 night off.
This isn't about the case. Remember, this is the first case he's been let on in over a month, and before he started, he was jumping at the chance to have one. No, what he wants a break from is being within touching distance of Sherlock at all times and feeling like he constantly has to repress his feelings. John makes it very clear that he's only here for a sexual outlet.
I do have a couple of other things on my mind this evening.
Like what?
You are kidding.
What's so important? Sherlock, I'm right in the middle of a date. You want me to chase some killer while I'm trying to...
What?
Well, I'm trying to get off with Sarah. Hey.
John, Sarah deserves better than you. When they get inside, John proceeds to pay attention only to Sherlock. Again, not the way you move on, bud. But he can't help himself, I suppose. Sherlock and John's backs are practically touching while Sarah stands a few inches away.
You said circus. This is not a circus. Look at the size of this crowd. Sherlock, this is art. This is not their day job. No, sorry, I forgot. They're not a circus. They're a gang of international smugglers.
Again, it's starting to really look like she's the third wheel. Stop! Sherlock worms his way between John and Sarah, and John is still giving him all of his attention. This is too much. Like, look at this! Why? Also, the face Sherlock makes when Sarah grabs John's arm. At least John is pleased with himself. At this point, Sarah finally has a bit of John's attention, but eventually John turns back to see Sherlock's reaction, only to find that he's gone again. Probably wanted to get away from that situation as quickly as possible. Sherlock gets himself into trouble again, though. John tries to save him, but the smugglers end up getting away. John and Sherlock head back to Dimmock, and Sarah just kind of follows them. Definitely the odd one out at this point.
The tattoo that we saw on the 2 bodies, the mark of the tongue.
Lucas and Van Koon were part of a smuggling operation. Now, one of them stole something when they were in China, something valuable.
These circus performers were gang members sent here to get it back.
When they get back to Baker Street, Sarah finally takes the hint and offers to leave. Sherlock jumps at the opportunity, while John is surprised that Sarah feels ignored.
Well, I think perhaps I should leave you to it.
No,
yes, it would be
you
better
don't
to
have
study
go.
if you
Just
left
can
now.
Stay. He's kidding. Please stay if you'd like.
They're both terrible. Who's worse? Probably John. Trash man. Trash man in a trash can. John tries to get food for Sarah, only to find that there's nothing in the fridge. Mrs. Hudson helps out, though.
Punch. And a bowl of nipples. Mrs. Hudson, you're a saint.
If it was Monday, I'd have been to the soup.
No, thank you.
In the meantime, Sherlock is being extremely petty towards Sarah.
So this is what you do? You and John, you solve puzzles for a living?
Consulting detective.
Oh, what are these squiggles?
The numbers. An ancient Chinese dialect.
Oh, right, yeah, well, of course I should have known that.
When will this horrible date end? Sarah points out the cipher to Sherlock, fitting since she's the one picking up all the signals between Sherlock and John, and Sherlock runs off to find the book Su Lin was using.
So these numbers is a cipher?
Exactly.
And each pair of numbers is a word?
How did you know that?
Well, 2 words have already been translated here.
John? John, look at this. Su Lin at the museum. She started to translate the code for us. We didn't see it. 9 mil.
Does that mean millions?
9 million quid for what? We need to know the end of this sentence.
Where are you going?
To the museum, to the restoration room. Oh, we must have been staring right at it.
At what?
The book, John, the book, the key to cracking the cipher. Su Lin used it to do this. Whilst we were running around the gallery, she started to translate the code. It must be on her desk.
John and Sarah try to save their ruined date by ordering food, only to be kidnapped.
Sorry to keep you. How much do you want?
Do you have it?
What?
Do you have the treasure?
I don't understand.
Sherlock comes back to Baker Street to find John missing and freaks out.
I got it! The cipher, the book. It's the London 8% that they used.
John is more afraid here than he normally is in these situations, but being knocked out and restrained might be bringing up bad memories from the war. Sean starts calling out John for the fact that he and Sherlock are so intertwined that at this point they're basically the same person.
Chinese brother, Mr. Holmes.
I'm not Sherlock Holmes.
Forgive me if I do not take your word for it. Debit card, name of S. Holmes.
Take my card.
Yes, that's not actually mine. He lent that to me.
The check for £5,000 made out in the name of Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
He gave me that to look after.
Tickets from the theatre collected by you, name of Holmes.
Yes, okay.
What's the name?
Holmes. I realise what this looks like, but I'm not him.
We heard it from your own mouth.
What?
I am Sherlock Holmes, and I always work alone.
Because no one else can compete with my massive intellect.
Did I really say that?
If you see Sean as a parallel for Mary, this bit is even more poignant. Here's another interesting connection.
You're Sean.
3 times we tried to kill you and your companion, Mr. Holmes.
Sorry, boys! I'm so changeable.
Okay. Let me give you a little extra incentive. Your friends will die if you don't.
John.
Is John with you?
He's,
Is John here?
he's downstairs.
So, what do you do now? Kill us both?
Mary, whatever he's got on you, let me help.
Oh, Sherlock, if you take one more step, I swear I will kill you.
No, Mrs. Watson. You won't.
Rather than meaning that Mary and Moriarty haven't been trying to kill Sherlock and John up until this point, it means that what's to come is even worse. Almost losing John causes Sherlock to reevaluate. He stares at the London Eye lit up with gay pride colors and decides to tell John about his feelings. That's why he's trying extra hard to be cool when he shows up at the tramway.
I'm not Sherlock Holmes!
I don't believe you.
You should, you know. Sherlock Holmes is nothing at all like him. How would you describe me, John? Resourceful, dynamic, enigmatic?
Later.
That's a semi-automatic. If you fire it, the bullet will travel at over 1,000 meters per second.
Well?
Well, the radius curvature of these walls is nearly 4 meters. If you miss, the bullet will ricochet. Could hit anyone.
Might even bounce off the tunnel and hit you.
You were very slow.
How good a shot are you?
How badly do you want to find out?
If I die here, my body will be found in a building with your face projected on the front of it. Even Scotland Yard could get somewhere with that.
John is the one to kill Jiju. Some people take this to mean that Mycroft will end up dying, but remember, this is a parallel where Sherlock is dead as well, and that definitely isn't going to be happening. I think it's much more likely that this means that John will be the one to kill the person threatening his love interest. At that point, it will be Sherlock. Sherlock is comforting to Sarah, showing his compassionate side, and proving that his issue with her earlier wasn't the fact that he's unsociable. John, however, continues to be terrible.
It's all right. You're gonna be right. It's over now. Don't worry. Next date won't be like this.
Sherlock is disappointed at how the night went, but at least they get to have tea together the next day.
So 9 million, yes, 9 million for Jade Pin, Dragon Den, Black Tramway.
An instruction to all their London operatives. A message, what they were trying to reclaim.
What, Jade Pin?
Worth £9 million. Bring it to the tramway, their London hideout.
But hang on. A hairpin worth £9 million?
Apparently.
Why so much?
Depends who owned it.
Sherlock also gets to make someone else happy.
Didn't know its value, just thought it would suit you.
Oh? What's it worth?
£9 million.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Look at him being all proud of himself. I'm so happy. John gets the chance to show up Sebastian, too.
You really climbed up onto the balcony.
Nail a plank across the window and all your problems are over. Thanks.
All is well. Even though there's Sarah now, John and Sherlock end the episode back in sync.
Over 1,000 years old, and it's sitting on her bedside table every night.
He didn't know its value. Didn't know why they were chasing him.
Should have just got her a lucky cat.
More or less. Sherlock is still distracted.
You mind, don't you?
What?
That she escaped. General Shan, it's not enough that we got her 2 henchmen.
Must be a vast network, John. Thousands of operatives. You and I, we barely scratched the surface.
You cracked the code, though, Sherlock. And maybe Dimmock can track down all of them now that he knows it.
No. I cracked this code. All the smugglers have to do is pick up another book.
Even though he cracked one code, it wasn't enough. John looks outside to see more symbols being set up. They haven't scratched the surface yet. Which starts the transition to the next episode. Sean is speaking to an anonymous M who is presumably Moriarty, but the ambiguity of that initial is important. There are a lot of M's floating around.
I will not reveal your identity.
If you think Sean, the woman leading the operation, is a parallel for Mary, the identity of her killer has interesting implications. But if they're all ultimately working for Mary, it has the same message. Mary will end up getting herself killed. It might even be Mycroft, finally redeeming himself by pulling free of her control. Whoever this M is, this scene shows us that Sherlock and John still have far greater threats to face. It makes sense that an episode that centers around symbols and codes would have a heavy amount of subtext going on, even for an episode of Sherlock. On the surface layer, a lot of the choices made in the episode might look like poor writing, but with a knowledge of mirrors and drink code, it becomes obvious that the episode exists to set up plans they've had from the very beginning. And even the apparently inconsistent actions of the main characters fit perfectly into place when you take these things into consideration and take a closer look. Like Waiting for Garadev's pointed out, placement-wise, it makes sense to foreshadow the entire series in the second episode, especially if they want to pull their whole "you were told and you didn't listen" shtick later on. But the fact that they had the overarching plot of their story planned out to this this degree from the very beginning is seriously impressive. And all of the foreshadowing here makes me even more excited to see the eventual conclusion unfold. So thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you as always to Stacey, who actually edited this in between studying for her midterm, which is just serious dedication. Thank you. Thanks, friend. I love you. I also took ideas that Freemoan and Johnlock TM added to one of my posts, so check them out too. And you can find the post by waiting for Gyarados that I referenced linked in the description below. Next week's video will be on some of the more overt sexual subtext on the show, so I hope you're looking forward to that, or at the very least looking forward to me getting extremely flustered talking about it. After that, I'll be continuing on to the Great Game, so stick around for those, and until next time, get ready to believe.